Okay, cool. Sweet. And I would like to welcome the first speaker of the Affirming team.
No, I will.
Oh. Yes.
If you could just let me know your name before you start speaking, just so I can make sure I go.
Ella. Religions that don't value death more over what people actually do with their lives are far more beneficial for people and far more beneficial for our society. 3 things for you in my speech today. Firstly, on setup, my first point will be on how people maximize their life more under our side. My second point will be on how people don't live in fear under our side. Firstly, on setup, what do we think these religions look like? We think these probably look like your karmic religions, right? So your religions that believe in karma, you know, something good happens to you, something good will happen back, right? We also think that, like, in terms of devotion, what devotion looks like, this probably just looks like following the scripture of your religion, following, like, the general values that your religion follows. Like, some general ones, for examples, can be, like, following love, fairness, equality, things such as this. We also think this probably looks like believing in the higher power that controls your religion, if that is what your religion uses. Okay, first point here is how people maximize their life under our side. Context is the same as my setup. Firstly, people value the time in their life more under our side. Why is this? It's because when you don't have the idea that all of your reward is going to be, like, reaped at the end of your life, people then realize that the short 80-year lifespan that they have is now their time to reap the rewards and do everything and get the best that they can, like, out of what they do, right? So it creates, like, a sense of urgency in people because they now realize, hey, in order to get, like, all of these good rewards, I have to, like, keep doing more and more good things, and this means I'm going to, like, get more good rewards in return. On the comparative, when you have the concept of, like, you know, you've got, like, potentially the heaven and hell concepts that a lot of religions follow, where at the end of your life it's like you have one of the other, it means people probably only do, like, the absolute minimal things that their religion requires them to do in order to reach the threshold of being able to go to heaven, because it's like you have to do, like, this set amount of things and you'll go to heaven. You don't have that constant incentive to be like, I want to keep doing more and more good things so that I get more and more good rewards. On the comparative, we think that people just feel more motivated as well when they, like, actually can see the results in their lifetime, right? So people are going to, like, want to just do more good things because they're seeing results while they're living, right? If they're just, like, trying to do, like, the minimum that their religion, like, requires them to do because, you know, it means that they'll go to heaven when they finish their life, it probably doesn't mean that they're valuing their time as much as they can. We think it means that people will probably end up, you know, just doing, like, more good things or, like, more things that they want to do. Secondly, here is it's easier buy-in on our side, right? We think that under our side, when you give, like, people rewards during their lifetime, it becomes a lot more tangible and a lot more realistic for people to, like, sort of comprehend and understand. On the comparative, where you've got, like, the idea that all of your rewards are given after death, nobody knows what the afterlife actually looks like. It's really hard for people to conceptualize this. For a lot of people, this probably feels, like, really distant or, like, not close, and it's really hard for people to actually, like, buy into this. Whereas on our side, we are results are more tangible and people can, like, conceptualize it more. It feels closer, it feels realistic. People will feel more motivated. People, like, actually might want to see, like, this immediate reward. Like, for example, you know, you did a good act and then, like, a day later you find $20 on your street and you're like, wait, that is my religion, like, showing me, you know, I did this good thing, I get this good reward. That's something that's easy to conceptualize. Thirdly, is people are more likely to do good things for other people, right? We think under our side it makes it harder for people to ignore, like, the small good deeds that will just bring you more small rewards, because we think, like, instinctively people just want, like, to bring as much, like, good into their lives as possible. And we think that under this side, like, these religions sort of teach that, like, even the smallest things that you do can, like, reap you a reward, right? On the comparative, people are less likely to do small good things because they want to just take the path of less resistance that is going to get them like the threshold that means they're going to like go to heaven, or things like that, or like just follow the set steps that means they're going to go to heaven. We think like, as I've said, people are less incentivized to like value the little things that means they're going to bring you like a good reward. So what are the impacts of this? Firstly, we think that people are just going to be living their life to the fullest, basically, right? Because life literally is the reward outside of the house, so we think people are going to be like more motivated to live it to the fullest, right? We think that this means like people just do more things that they wouldn't otherwise do because they know, hey, if I'm going to be brave, then I'll get like this massive reward for it. We think it motivates people more. We think this means that people are probably going to try new things as well. This means they're probably going to end up like being more happy and having a more fulfilling life. You know, they're going to get to the end of their life, the end of their 80 years, and go, hey, I did all of these amazing things, and it was thanks to my religion who taught me that, you know, doing good things brings good rewards. Like, I don't have regrets because I've done all of these incredible things in my life. Secondly, easier buy-in leads to more buy-in, right? We think this is probably really good for the religions, because when it's easier for people to conceptualize your religion, people are more likely to buy into it and stick with it. This creates a better religious support system, right? For a lot of people, their religion is their community. It is like the purpose of their life, and when you like make it easier for people to buy into it, it brings more people into the group. It creates like a more diverse like religious group, a larger support system, and it means that like people in general just have more support, they have more community, and like their religion becomes more like a family to them because people are buying into it more. We think this is important because like you want the religion that gives you purpose to like actually bring you fulfillment. Thirdly is like the wider societal impact, right? Like people who buy in, who are going to like treat other people better, just has better impacts on people in society, right? When like other people are just being like more nice to you, or people in religions are just like doing small acts for you, right? Like literally holding a door open for someone when you wouldn't normally, like under their side of the house, because you just don't see the point when there's like these other things happening. So we think this means that religions just spread more positivity and more optimism. Second point here on how, I will take a POI quickly.
Yeah, why can't people just open doors because it's morally the right thing to do and just being courteous?
Because I think like a lot of people are just like too busy wrapped up in their own lives half the time. I feel like a lot of people, even though they might not intend to like be rude to others, they sort of just don't really think about it because it's not something that their life like revolves around. It's like doing good deeds. Okay, second point here is how when people don't live in fear under our side. A little bit of context here is that often under these like karmic religions is that the punishment and the reward is proportional to what you do, right? Like if you do a small good deed, you're probably going to get like a small reward. A bad good, like a really big good deed, you'll get like a bigger reward. What are the mechanisms here? One main mechanism is that you just don't have the threat of eternal torture being held over your head with like a lot of religions who follow the concept of heaven and hell, right? We think that this is really, really terrifying for a lot of people because, as I've said, it's really hard to conceptualize what the afterlife is like. So when you're told, you know, if you do something bad, you're going to go to hell, you are going to be eternally tortured, I think that is really, really terrifying for a lot of people to have to try and deal with that threat from their religion. We think that under their side, they just contribute to like religious guilt, and it means that people, like when they do one small bad thing, they're going to be like terrified that it is contributing to them going to hell because they've like made a mistake out of literally just being human, because nobody is perfect, right? And we think that this is like a massive, massive harm to people. Whereas on our side, if you do one small bad thing, right, like you cheat on a test, okay, that's bad. You got caught, all right, there's your punishment, right? It's happened, and you move on, and you don't have this contributing to like religious guilt or this threat of like, you know, when I die, I'm going to go off for eternity and be tortured because I cheated on my test in high school. Things like that. Okay. Secondly is just like a little bit more on proportional punishment and exactly how that helps people. We think this teaches like rewards and consequences to people, right? And we think that when people know that like what happens is going to be proportionate to what they do, they just aren't going to like be as scared like every time they do something bad. So what are the impacts here? Firstly, people aren't afraid in their religion because punishment and reward is like reasonable and easy to conceptualize. Second, people don't buy into their religion out of fear, which means they join for the right reasons. And thirdly, people don't suffer from religious guilt, and this is why we think this should stay.
Thank you, speaker, for your speech. I'd like to welcome the first speaker in the team.
I think when they give rewards, like when you give a dog a treat when he sits, they lose the debate. 5 things in this debate. 1, some setup. 2, some rebuttal. 3, why they actually get more dissatisfaction. 4, why people act better on our side of the house. And Nathan will give you a split on cults. Look, what is the purpose of a religion? A religion is to give you a guiding sense of principles and how to live your life. It's passing down a set of teaching and knowledge for you to essentially be enlightened and to live a better life. We think that being rewarded by a religion has to be something like really large and really good, because sometimes small things can just be seen as good luck, right? There's no actual direct correlation, and if you have people thinking like, oh, I did something good, this happens to me, people can just put that down to good luck. We see this in like karma and Buddhism and things like that. Look, in order to we think rewards in the afterlife look like certain religions giving you like heaven. We give you like Islam and Christianity, this ideal, this perfect romanticization of life, something where you can live forever. In Hinduism, it looks like reincarnating as a slave and working your way all the way back up to a king. And in Buddhism, it looks like transcending life itself. We win this debate by proving that rewarding in the afterlife gets you better outcomes. Some quick rebuttal here. Look, we completely agree that karmic religions are in this debate, and we also agree with their definition of devotion, but we also think that because the way they've set this up, we think that cults apply as well. Look, you have a scripture you follow, you have lots of people, they obviously have a religious leader or someone in charge, and we think under their model we can fit this in. Look, people value your time, so they're willing to do better things in your life is the exact analysis they gave you. We think that if you're going to spend 80 years, and that 80 years is going to dictate an eternity of what happens, we think this is a really good motivator, and we think it pushes you further. In fact, you probably want to do as much as you can to ensure you get into heaven, because you're going to be there for literally forever. Look, and you just don't want to go into hell as well. They gave you this idea that heaven is hard to conceptualize, and then they told you it's really easy to conceptualize hell. Well, we don't think you can have the cake and also eat it. If you can conceptualize heaven and hell, and you can see that it's really, really bad, obviously it's not going to be that hard to think of heaven and think, wow, this is going to be really, really good. I want to go there. Okay. I know I'm not a very religious person, yet I still hold doors open because it's the courteous and right thing to do. It's not like every single small act in my life is leading to this idea of, oh yes, I'm going to go to heaven. No, I just think it's kind and it's courteous. And they told us that punishment is relative. Well, we think that the threat of eternal torture is not in every single religion. You see it in Judaism, where they have this sort of limbo state of life, where you kind of just sit there and think about what you've done, and you essentially ascend to the higher realm. You see this in the places of Islam, where they talk about forgiveness and being able to reconciliate this. We even see this idea in Christianity. It's okay to do some bad things, so long as you're able to reconciliate, and an all-loving God is going to be able to reconciliate for your sins. And they told us, we don't want people to be scared of doing bad things. What kind of analysis is that? We want people to be scared to do bad things so they don't do bad things like hurt other people. We just don't understand that at all. Alright, my first point, why we get dissatisfaction. If you're told to do good things and good things come back to you, we get this sort of karma rhetoric. Look, 4 mechanisms for you here. Look, when you do good things and you get beat down, you feel dissatisfied. If you don't have these good things come back to you quickly, you don't feel like you're appreciated by your gods. You don't feel like you're being watched. You think, who actually cares? On the comparative, we give you a reason to follow the cult because you don't need that immediate reward. It's not like that dog and the clicker, right? You've got something to look forward to in the end. It's not pointless. You know you're being watched, and even if you do all the good things, but life's not going my way, you know that at the end of the tunnel, you have something to go to. You know that Jesus loves you and that you're going to be sent to heaven. Okay, let's talk about how they actually lose faith on their side. So my second mechanism. Look, imagine someone is living basically the exact same life as you, right? And what happens here? I'm going to work, and they get a bonus and I don't. You're going to think to yourself, why did they end up getting a promotion and I didn't, even though I did all the exact same things? The best case scenario is that you're exactly the same in every single way. What happens? You question your faith, you lose all of that. Worst case scenario, you see someone who is actively doing bad things or being worse than you, and they suddenly get rewarded because, they found $20 because they found it on their shoe or something like they told you. What happens then? You think, are these bad things that they're doing actually okay? And then you lead to a lack of faith because you're like, why doesn't God, like, I open doors for people. Why doesn't God give me $20? He doesn't open doors for people. He gets $20. Why is that? We give you a coping mechanism because even if someone is getting better results than you and they're not doing nice things, you get to internalize it because you get to know in the end, I am going to go to heaven. In the end, they might go to hell because they didn't open that door. Note, this interacts with all their materials about getting like really good results for people, and then also interacts with like their material about why they're going to get more buy-in, because we actually get more buy-in on our side and they lose out on it. What do we get here? You're not disenfranchised from your religion, and you in your heart, deep down, know that you're doing the right thing and you're willing to continue to do that, unlike what they say. Why does this matter? Because people see each other, and us as humans like to compare each other. It's like what shoes we have, or like what tie we have, or things like that. Bad people sometimes get rewarded, and under their side, this exasperates out, and bad people get rewarded, and people think it's okay to do bad things. But it's not. Because you start questioning your faith and you lose this faith. You feel like, what's the point in what I'm doing? And you lose a sense of purposeness. But it's really bad for them because religion on our side helps keep people moving. Yeah, I'll take that.
On religious cults, how does that fit into this debate? Because don't you have like religious cults that follow the concept of heaven and hell just as much as you might have ones that follow karmic religion?
I know it's really bad to say this, but that's actually my second speaker's whole point, so he'll talk about that. Okay, why people act better. Look, we think that this idea of karma is like really transactional. I told you before, it's like a dog sits and you give him a treat, right? Let's talk about why that you get, two mix for you here today, consistent good. This idea is carried through because like, I want a promotion at work, so I'm only going to do good things then. Well, on our side, you have to do good things constantly because you're being watched throughout, and towards the end, you're going to like, I don't know, go to heaven, right? But on their side, you're just looking and you're doing small little things when you want it, when you need it. It's not very consistent. Okay, 2, on the comparative, no, I'm not going to talk about that one actually. All right, 2, a lot of people are in religion. Look, the expectation is if I do something good, it'll come back to me. And if you do good things and they don't come back, what happens? You just like are not going to continue doing good things because there's no point, because it didn't come back quick enough or big enough to affect you or your life in any ways. You're going to do bad things which are probably better for yourself, and you're going to become more selfish. We just think this is really bad. What do we get here? We get more people buying into religion, more people buying into it like fully as well, and we get consistent good acts. And we want people to like run by these principal values and have a good, virtuous life. All right, what have I proved today? That people get dissatisfaction when you have rewards that reward them in life, and that people are a lot better without these immediate rewards, and when they have an afterlife that is perfect, that they can look up to. Thank you.
I think in either religion, it's going to be pretty annoying if like a genuinely bad person does get a promotion and you don't, right? Like either way, you're probably going to be upset about this thing. Okay, a few things I'm going to be doing in this speech today. Firstly, I'll be furthering Ella's impact from her first speech. Secondly, I'll be doing some rebuttal on the dissatisfaction material we got on that side. Secondly, on religious corruption. And thirdly, on like a little bit of miscellaneous rebuttal. My substantive contribution will be made in like forms of extension throughout. I'll try and flag them. Okay, now going on to the further impact of Ella's final point. She said that people aren't going to be literally fearing for the fact of eternal punishment, right? And note then, I'm going to directly interact with this idea that it's okay, people want to be consistently really good in this religion, okay? So why is this not true? There's a few reasons. reasons. Firstly, I want to point out that they kind of contradicted themselves. They said you can repent and therefore you won't be punished, or you need to constantly have like a perfect life where you are never bad, you never do anything wrong, that way you can get to heaven. I also want to contend with what they said on the fact that like people can't conceptualize heaven but they can conceptualize hell. I think it's a lot easier to imagine and think of something really, really terrifying than like a complete utopian society, because we do not live in a perfect world. We live in a world with like flaws and problems and issues, so it's a lot easier to imagine what flaws, problems and issues might happen to you when you go to hell versus living in a perfect world that no one has ever experienced, because it literally does not exist in our lives. Okay. I also think on our side we end up getting people to join this religion for the right reasons, because they're not buying in out of like being terrified of torture. They're buying in probably because they want to be good people, and like of course everyone wants a sense of personal benefit anyway. I think people aren't suffering like religious guilt, right? Like they don't have this idea that they're going to be eternally punished for doing a few bad things in their life, because we all know humans do inherently make mistakes, right? No one is perfect. We do not live in utopia. We are not as creatures perfect. We all do things that are considered to be bad by either religion. On our side, if you do something like cheat in a test, you then get caught. This is your punishment. On their side, this is going to be something you're going to go, okay, wait, this isn't extremely bad, but maybe all these moderately bad things are going to come back and bite me in the butt and send me to hell, right? Like, this is where that fear comes into play. It's not necessarily that you're going around murdering 10 people and you're like, oh no, I'm not going to go to hell, but it's the idea that these things are going to add up, whereas we see immediate response to these things. I think good, bad luck things happen, and you can always connect it in our side. Like, you can go find your $20 note on the street and go, oh, this was good karma. Or maybe you lose $20 and you go, oh, this was bad karma for this reason. I don't care what God's intention was around that. I think people can make these personal connections for themselves. Okay, on the comparative, we have two sorts of things that can happen, right? One is people live or lead very terrible lives, but then they go, it is okay, it is justified because I have a forgiving God. I can go repent for my sins. I am not a bad person for this, right? Or we get another sort of like characterization where people are so terrified and they are just living in this constant state of like complete and utter fear of their life and for what is going to happen to them after death. Okay, going on to my rebuttal on like dissatisfaction within religion. I've already sort of interacted with some of this material, because we see like on their side, people have something to look forward to in the end. Yeah, sure, you get that. But we also have immediate, tangible things, right? It's a lot easier when you're having a bad day to go, it's okay though, I've been doing some good things. I'm sure something good, like the tables are going to turn for me, rather than going into this, like, I have been severely depressed, but it's okay. I guess in 80 years' time, I might go into heaven, right? Like, we've got a much more tangible change in outcome under our side. Their side, it is purely based on the fact that you need to be so hopeful consistently throughout the rest of your life that you will end up in heaven, right? I think this is a lot harder for people to buy into, again, on the tangible factor, but then it is so far ahead. I literally, like, I have not thought about, like, my death in 80 years' time, right? Like, this is not something I'm consistently thinking of. Okay. We also heard that all the content on like people getting rewarded for bad behavior. Either side, I think this might like be the case, right? You might end up in heaven and go, Jenny robbed a bank once, why is she here, right? So I don't think that's super valid anyway. We also heard that they get a coping mechanism. Once again, I think this coping mechanism is pretty irrelevant if it is so far down the line and you are constantly seeing all these bad things happening to you. And they also like gave us some material on people like to compare themselves. I mean, sure, but like, yeah. Okay, now on to stuff about religious corruption. So I think this idea of cults is a bit random, but I'll interact with it anyway. So I think it's a lot easier to get people to buy into a cult if you say, if you don't buy into this, you are literally damned for eternity to be tortured, right? Because it's a much scarier thought to go, you will be tortured for the rest of eternity versus, oh, you might lose like $50, right? Like, I think it's a much scarier thing, and people buy into this because this is like the basics of propaganda, right? It's a lot easier to get people to buy into things out of fear. But then also, they said something on like small acts of kindness happens more on their side, because under our side, people don't want to, like, they're only going to do good things because they think there's going to be benefit for them. I think that's slightly misunderstanding what karma literally is. You constantly want to feel a bit motivated to be doing things because you literally don't want a bad thing to happen to you. So it doesn't really matter like, oh, I want a job promotion. Maybe you start doing some more good things, but I think you're more present on the fact that doing good things gets you better outcomes.
On that.
Okay, now going on to my miscellaneous rebuttal. We heard that like people are going to be good constantly on that side. In neither side or in neither religion is this going to be the case, because once again humans are inherently flawed. We are always going to make mistakes. I think on our side we're a lot more conscious because we go, oh, I can see an instant benefit to being a good person, to holding this door open for this old lady, versus like, I don't know, going, oh, I might go to hell, but it's okay, it's further down the line, I can always go say sorry to a priest. Okay, I'm about to get on to my extension. PY, please.
How does your material about hell interact with religions without a hell, like Judaism?
Okay, so sure, religions without a hell, but I think it's a pretty hellish concept to be told that you're going to be like, I don't know, reincarnated as a slave, right? Like, it's a pretty terrible concept to like, in this idea that you're going to now have to live as a pauper. Sorry if that's the wrong religious examples. I don't know a lot about religions. But all this content that we were actually given, I think, is similar to this hellish concept because you're literally going to have a terrible life. Okay, now onto some extension. So I think the short life, like, and a sense of urgency is really good for people because they literally do more good things, right? Because humans obviously feel good when we do good things for each other, but we're more conscious of the fact that we're only here for a short period of time. Death isn't the end game, life is the end game. I think what we also get is like their side has two extremes. They've got like this idea of you're going to have a very good afterlife or a very bad one, right? Like there are going to be two polar opposites. They do not cater for like this really average person who's going to live their life unsure of where they're actually going to end up. I think on their side as well, like Ali gave you a lot of content, they're going to take the path of least resistance because they think that is where they're going to see their benefits. They don't really see a major benefit in being like, I don't know, just like a kind person holding this door open for a lady, because it's not going to be the difference between them like eternally being punished or not. For all of these reasons, I think we've won these points.
A few things to do in this speech. Firstly, how you interact with your religion and in your daily lives and what acts you do. Secondly, living in fear. And then lastly, I'm going to give you my split on cults and why it's uniquely harmful on their side of the house. Okay, so firstly then on the idea of like satisfaction and what you do. They told us that under their side of the house, you're going to start doing lots of good things because you want good rewards, like picking up $20 off the street. That means you're going to start like holding the door for someone when they walk into the room. Firstly, and then they told us their analysis that we don't get that under our side is because they're just going to do that bare minimum to get into heaven. Firstly, I want to flag, like, what is the bare minimum to get into heaven? Because, like, I reckon opening a door for someone is pretty bare minimum as a whole. Like, I don't think it's, like, the greatest act ever. We think that also, secondly, this means, like, we think the idea of getting into somewhere great, not just heaven, but any good afterlife or reincarnation process such as that, we think that gives people a good incentive to start acting good. But also, because it is something that's so great that they probably can't conceptualize, they're probably going to start doing greater things. That means like volunteering at their soup kitchen or like, you know, like volunteering for their local like kids football team to like help them out. We think that these are some really good things that they can do more than just like opening a door and doing the bare minimum, whatever the hell that is. Okay. Also, they told you that like yeah, like, what else did we told you? We told you that Oliver's, like, idea on, like, dissatisfaction with religion, right? And that, like, if you see someone, if you're, like, constantly doing good things, you're constantly volunteering, you're giving up your time, but nothing good is actually happening to you. But also just, like, the idea of, like, picking up $20. I don't think, like, they say it's, like, proportional, but what if you're, like, What if you've been like doing some really, really good things and the only good thing to have happened to you in the past week was picking up like a $2 coin off the street? We don't think these occurrences are actually as common as they say. They kind of like characterize it to you that like as soon as you do one small good thing, you're gonna get like an instant reward the next day. I think that's unlikely and that like they just don't have the feasibility to actually prove that that exists inherently. We think what normally happens with people in the idea of karma is like they do something and then something happens later, but a lot of people don't even realize it because it's not something that great, or they also just forget about they did a good thing in the first place. We don't actually understand how they get the idea of like tangible benefits that they want to claim under their side of the house. Okay then, what else did we tell you here? We also told you material here under like the idea of like the incentives of why people are doing good things and why that's corrupted under their side of the house. That we told you analysis that people are going to start doing good things because they want good things to happen in their lives, such as getting a new job promotion, such as maybe like wanting to like conjure good luck for a debating tournament. I don't know, like, you know, we think that people are going to do these good things without the right incentives. They want something good to happen to them. We don't think that is inherently the best thing. We think that we probably want people to do good things because of like a bigger reason after that, something being rewarded for their good things in an afterlife. Okay, also, let's talk about the idea of like living in fear and conceptualizing the afterlife, right? Okay, what do they tell us here? They told us it's super hard to conceptualize the afterlife, but it's really easy to conceptualize hell. I think that this is like not like mutually exclusive, right? If you can conceptualize hell, why can't you conceptualize heaven? I'll tell you why you can conceptualize heaven, because you're told it's a very good place. A lot of people instantly think in their minds what is actually really good for them. We think that they can inherently do that. But also we tell you that like their example of being like eternally tortured, that's exclusive to Christianity, right? Like not all religions present you the idea of hell in the first place. Take Islam, for example. They have like 7 like levels of the afterlife in which you get given a place depending on how well you actually do. We think that gives you an incentive. You're not just immediately like doing one bad thing and you're sent to like be tortured forever. But also let's take Hinduism, for example. That like their idea of the afterlife is you're reincarnated into something new depending on how well you did in your previous life. We think that that is uniquely beneficial. We don't understand why the idea of just hell is going to be the thing that constantly gives you fear. What else did they tell us here? They told us that like religion contributes to guilt and that you're going to constantly feel bad and you're going to feel like you're going to go to hell because you cheated on your math test or something. Firstly, I think that on this extreme level, we think that like fear is a good thing, right? We don't want people committing like bad things in their daily lives, right? We don't think that like under their side, what's probably going to happen? They're going to commit something bad, and they're just going to be like, oh, something bad's going to happen to me later of like equal proportion, blah, 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 blah. What we think is going to happen under our side of the house? Maybe you do something really bad, like hit someone and steal something. We think you have that fear of like maybe like going to like being punished in your afterlife. We think that that is a good enough deterrent for you because people are so deeply rooted in their religions, right? Religion is literally a quintessential part of lots of people's lives. It's like literally the way of life. It's literally teachings to tell you how to live. We think that that is a big influence and a big deterrence of actually how like bad things are going to happen. But also, like we just think that this characterization of feeling guilt and instantly being sent to hell is just like outrageous, right? Like I think we want to sense check that, right? Like we don't think like religious texts are inherently just being like you do one bad thing, you get sent to hell. We think that that is kind of uncharitable from them. We think that what normally happens is you normally see like it's a balance, right? Like when I go to chapel every Wednesday, Sarah always constantly rambles on about like forgiveness and how I'm going to be forgiven and why made one mistake does not mean I'm going to be like put into hell forever and seeking forgiveness. We think that people like on balance aren't perfect human beings, but we think constantly if you're like on balance a good person for like the like majority of your life, or like on balance just like more good than you are bad, we think that you are still going to be rewarded. Not just doing one bad thing sends you straight to hell. We think that gives you really, really good incentives. Before I move on, I'll take a POI.
If you've just said that religion is very good at forgiving people, how is the idea that the fear of like going to hell is going to stop people from doing bad things?
Yeah, because people just don't want to be tortured forever, okay? Like, that's why they probably won't do bad things. Okay, moving on to this idea of cults. Context, what do we have to understand at the beginning of this point? Cults are often like deeply rooted in religion. I take the Charles Manson family and stuff. He was literally like claiming himself to be the son of like the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. We think that inherently means that they're like entrenched in religion. So here's how like cults work and why they're uniquely harmful under their side of the house. Firstly, cults are literally built around like hierarchical structures that put their leaders above in like a god-like position, like hence the religion aspect of things. They teach things, they put people through fear. We think that is extremely harmful. They put things through like psychological abuse, physical abuse that control these people. Secondly, because of this, their followers are literally compelled to do exactly what their leaders tell them to do. That's like horrible things, such as like the Manson family again. They literally murdered people in America. But also on an extreme level, this literally looks like blood sacrifices to like whatever like God they worship. But why is this like uniquely true for the small rewards in their lifetime? Because cult leaders trap people with these rewards, right? When they follow through on what the cult leader tells them to do, they're going to grant them small rewards. Maybe this looks like giving them more hierarchy within the cult. Maybe it looks like finally feeding them for the first time in a couple days. We think that these small rewards inherently buy into what they have to stand for, right? Because these rewards are literally what give people going. We think what is so harmful about this, because it literally just keeps trapping people within these cults that constantly harm them, because they keep coming back, because they think if I keep doing what he said, I'm going to be rewarded. That is so good. Why is it so harmful? Because cults are literally like so harmful to people, especially to young women who are literally preyed upon by these cults. They're literally like sexually abused. They're put through so much by these cults. We think that's extremely harmful. We don't get that on our side of the house, because cults inherently have to trap people with small rewards, because we don't have religions such as that under our side. We think it's harder for cults to actually trap people within their cult systems, but also we just think that like cults cannot like structurally function in like a functional way and do the horrible things they do under our side of the house. Not that this is like an exclusive harm that they have to contend with, and they actually have to mechanize proper responses as to how they actually don't get that, but I think that's unlikely in this debate. Ultimately, we think that small rewards maybe cause you to do small good things, but we think ultimately the idea of being rewarded in the afterlife is a much better incentive to do good things in the world.
I thank the speaker for his speech, and now let's welcome up the third speaker of the affirming team.
We think that ultimately one of the worst things a person can be told is that they are sentenced to an eternity of suffering and being treated badly because of the mistakes that they had in their lifetime. 2 points of clash in this debate. First of all, around what capacity do people have to claim these rewards, and second of all is which religion gets the most buy-in. Alright, the first point of clash around the capacity of people to claim these rewards. We hear a lot from Nick, a main push, that 80 years is a really good motivator for people to do as much as they can to escape hell, because this is a really big scary threat. And we hear that people will have to do good things consistently, that they can't just do bit by bit, do something good, oh get good benefits, do something bad, oh no, bad's scary, now we need to do something good again. We think that we should note that there is an element of personal gain in your case too, that you cannot criticize that people are only doing things for their own personal gain on our side of the house when wanting to go to heaven is symmetrical, because they're also wanting to do it for their personal gain. But furthermore is that we do agree that people do things because they are good people. People don't just do good things for wanting to go to heaven or for wanting to get these quick rewards like, finding $20 on the ground. This is a very overused example, but it's, clearly relevant to this case. And second of all, I think something that is really important is that people are human, okay? We are complex. We are not just as basic as bad and good as what tends to happen when we divide people up in the afterlife. Because even though there is more than just heaven and hell in religions, even though there may be layers of afterlife, these are still categorizing people broadly based on their actions within their life on earth. However, I think that this is unfair, and this is because people
are born into a certain circumstance on earth which differs from everybody else. We think that there are certain complexities within human life, such as being born into bad circumstances, being born into a gang, being born into an impoverished area, which will impact the way that you view life, which will impact the way that you act, and will therefore impact the way that you end up in the afterlife. Is it fair to stand for the fact that somebody suffers in their life because they are born into a gang, because they are born into such horrible circumstances, and as a result of that, they are simply doing all that they can to survive, which is seen as bad by this religion's metric, and then they are condemned to an eternity of suffering on top of the lifetime they have already experienced? At the very least, on our side of the house, once their lifetime has over, this is all the detriments they've had. They've already had a bad lifetime. They do not need to suffer anymore. That is the very least that we can claim on our side. However, at the best, these people do have a chance to reconciliate if they are able to actually make a change, if they are able to see what they have gone through and decided, hey, what I am doing right now is not actually good. This is not how I want to live. Then they can decide, let's do something better, and then they can see those impacts in their life. They have this empowerment because they can see, this is the circumstances I've grown up in. This is what I'm a product of my environment, and yet I have still overcome all of this. I have still decided to be a good person, and I can see this, and I'm empowered, and look at me. Isn't this so amazing? Isn't this the kind of empowerment we want to see in people, to feel like they can take charge of their life and that they can actually see it, rather than, oh no, maybe what I do right now will be good enough to outweigh all of these years that my horrible environment and my horrible childhood have thrown upon me unfairly. This is not okay. Keeping these people in a state of limbo is not something that we want to stand for, because at the very least, these people can see that the actions that they are doing do actually have some effect on their life, because it is instantaneous and it is symmetrical on our side of the house.
On that.
Furthermore, we hear from Neg that you are actually able to reconciliate. As my second speaker have pointed out, there is a few kind of contradictions in their case with the ability to reconciliate. However, also people, have to have consistent behavior in order to get into heaven or to hell. However, I would like to use the example of Ted Bundy, someone who's pretty notorious for doing some not cool stuff, right? I don't think that many religions would approve of his behavior, and yet, at the end of his life, when he was on death row, he reconciliated. He said to God, I believe in you, please forgive me, Jesus. You died for my sins. I want to go to heaven now, all right? Under their side of the house, if they are standing for reconciliation, they are saying that it is okay for people to commit all of this bad behavior as long as they reconcile, as long as they go back to God, and then they can claim the benefits of having heaven.
On that.
Yep, I'll take that.
Talking about complex hypotheticals, when a man steals food to feed his family, where does he go?
Well, I'm not God, so I can't really answer that. I think that would depend what religion you're actually looking at. However, I can't really answer that, I'm sorry. Alright, on to my second point of clash around which religion gets the most buy-in. Okay. Yeah, again, not all religions have hell, because this mood is specifically talking about the reward, or alternatively, as the opposite of reward, a punishment that people face in the afterlife, that we think that there are actually equivalents to this in other religions. For example, if you do something bad, your punishment in Hinduism would be born as a snail, or Ryan Gosling. Yeah. Hearing that nothing good will happen will then be such a detriment to you, because you're going around living you're trying your best to claim all of these benefits. Okay, sorry. Saying that people will be discouraged because they're trying their best to live a good life in order to claim these benefits, and saying that nothing good happens is going to be so bad to them to see this, and that they're going to lose faith. I think that, quite frankly, good things will happen to everyone. I don't think that you're going to live your entire life without seeing good things happen to you. I don't really think that many people are going to feel so bad about their lives that they will completely lose their faith, because this is what faith is. Faith is about believing there is a system in place. Faith is about believing that your actions do result in something. And we think that, second of all, because these people actually view it in this way, and that they don't care about the way that their future in the afterlife looks, that means that everything that they interpret as good will be seen as a result of what they have done positively within their religion. This means that you are feeling happier in your life, right? Because you can see, I did something good. Look, something good happened to me. That's not just chance. That's not just, random luck. That is my that is what I have done. I think this is very empowering. I think that people feel happy when they actually see what they have done. This is what the main push has been for my previous speakers. Please note this. Please note all of the happiness that we are gaining on our side of the house, not just, I'm coping with how bad my difficulties are. I'm hoping that maybe someday I might be lucky enough to get into heaven or to get reborn as Henry Cavill, all right? We think that on our side of the house, life is both the journey and the destination. It is not the be-all and end-all. It is you enjoy every bit of it because you are gaining. Everything that you put into life is what you gain out of it, all right? This means that you are a happy person. This means you are getting the most that you can out of your religion. And just to quickly touch upon the subject of cults, I really don't actually see how this is relevant on this debate. I think that, talking about how cults fearmonger and use this big, scary threats, I think that there is nothing more scary than hell. As, both teams, I think, have pointed out, hell is like the worst thing to happen, or again, being reborn as a snail. These are pretty bad threats, I think, and holding these over people's heads is different to saying you're going to lose $50. Again, I'm very sorry for the repeated examples. I think that honestly, this is pretty symmetrical on both sides. I don't think you can really claim it as a detriment on our side of the case. I think that at the very least, it is symmetrical, if not worse, on your side of the house. Alright, so therefore, at the end of this debate, we have proven we have more religious buy-in, that people do more good things, which means that they are happy in themselves, and that everybody else is happy too because of the good behaviour, and most importantly, people have their purpose in their life because they can see that their behaviour has an actual, tangible, positive outcome. This means that people are happy, and society is functioning great, and we win this debate.
Can I minimize that tab? Like the live stream one?
Do you still want to see it?
Yeah. Because it's on the delay, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that should be fine. Let's make sure. Let's double check. Oh shit. I think. Well. Sorry, I just seem to have lost it now. Well, did someone close the tab? The stream is not here.
I just like subtracted it, I didn't close it.
I'm assuming it's here. I don't wanna. Well, look, I'll just check, and if the stream is still there. Yeah, it should be fine. Cool. Yeah. You're all good. Sorry about this. Yeah.
I think the AF has really mischaracterized heaven and hell and this reward system of karma as really physical things that are guaranteed to happen rather than hypothetical situations that influence the way people do things. 2 points of clash for the house today. Firstly, who's motivated to be a better person, and second, who feels more satisfied. Before I do that, I'll just clear up a couple of things. They gave us this big point on gangs and people who start from a less disadvantaged situation. Firstly, I'll give you reasons why they'll be forgiven. But secondly, if they're just not a religious person, they're just not in this debate. If they're just not influenced by religion, they're not part of the debate. Because if they don't believe in hell and karma, it's just not a factor that impacts them. It's not like karma's like a guaranteed thing that happens every single time. It's kind of just a concept and idea and how people adapt. So they're just not in this debate. Now, moving on, who's going to be a better person? Firstly, they gave us all this material on who's going to have an easier route, and that means people aren't actually going to be good because they're just going to take the easiest route. Firstly, we don't think there's like a necessary like strict thing like from second, and I'll give you some examples. It's like in like a lot of the values in different religions, like love thy neighbor, like being respectful and haram to animals, and like not chasing material wealth. We don't think these are like strict things. We think it's like kind of up to interpretation, and we think like people just tend to try and like follow these values as well as they can, and tend to try and be a genuinely good person, like in order to like get into heaven consistently across their life. They're not just going to be like people don't follow religion to just like to like tick a box so they can go to heaven. Like they kind of follow religion because they believe in the things, or they've been like influenced it. They're just like really mischaracterized like why people follow religion. Secondly, like also they were just like people are going to do it like because like they're scared of going to hell, so they're just going to tick the box for all these things. We think this is like quite largely like just Christianity, and maybe it's like not really applicable to a lot of the different other religions in this debate, and I think they're just like over-focused in that category. Yeah. Additionally, they like told people that people need like consistent like incentives and motives, and they won't be able to like characterize what hell and heaven look like. Firstly, we think they can. Like we think there's a lot of literature like displaying hell and heaven. And I think that's just kind of something that happens to your imagination. Unrealistic to say, oh, they can see hell but not heaven. Additionally, we think like you don't need constant reminders. We think like the whole like thing religion's just built around is it's like not thinking about like constant reminders. It's like you do all these things, you go to heaven, and the whole point of religion is like around all these like set values that they have that I've also outlined. And also, we think it's like really good because we think a lot of these constant incentives can really alienate people from religion, which I'll get to. And now they told us this material on like why it's easier to get into. We actually don't want like religion to be like a trade-off situation. We don't want it to be transactional. We don't want people to be like, oh, I'm going to get into religion now because I want to get a big promotion, and that means I'm going to start doing all these good things. It's kind of like paying it forward in the drive-thru and then driving back around and going like back into the drive-thru again. It's like not really. It's kind of like a scummy little thing. We don't think this is a really good thing. They kind of like agreed that this is like a good thing in religion. They kind of like agreed that you want to feel, but like I'm kind of. It kind of just like violates a moral thing that like religion's just not really about. Like I think inherently this is really harmful following this like situation in debating, because we think it's like a really manipulative way to use religion. We think like a transactional way. We think like religion's following like consistent values, and we don't think like it's really realistic to like say it's a good thing and in this debate. Secondly, we also told you that it's like people are often going to feel really like disincentivized because, okay, they're doing good things. They feel as if they're following religion, but they just feel like life just keeps beating them down. Like they just lose 3 debates on like the first like main day of debating. They just feel like even though I'm like following all these good things, I just keep like not having good things happen to me. This means they're going to be like feeling really isolated from debate, like feel really isolated from their religion, and like feel as if like things aren't coming back to them. Now moving on to this material about cults. They told us like, oh, it's just because it's scary, and there's nothing more scary than hell, and that's how people control people in cults. They didn't really engage with a lot of Nathan's mechanisms on like why cults actually work. We told you like it's through coercion and rewards and these like systems. It's like if you do this really good thing, you're on like the next upper level, like closer to the leader. That's like really manipulative and seems like the all-powerful being and the reincarnation of Jesus. So like that's like why it's so important. Now, why is this so important in today's debate? Well, we think like when we have cults, we have things like 1,000 people drinking cyanide-laced Kool-Aid in Jonestown and having like a mass suicide. We think this is so much more harmful than like people opening doors for other people. Secondly, second point of clash, who's going to feel more set aside? Now, they kind of gave us this weird thing about like, oh, you do like one small little thing at the start, like cheating on a test, and now you're going to be scared for the rest of your life that you're going to be like sent to hell. Why is this just so not realistic in this debate? Well, it's because of like the conception of forgiveness. Like Peter or Judah or like one of Jesus' disciples literally like sold him out for like 2 coins, and like Jesus still went and forgave him like after he died on the cross. Like it's like at the heart of religions is like forgiveness. So we think it's like really unrealistic. Like the whole point of it is like, okay, even if you've had a bad life to begin with, we'll still like forgive you for your sins and we'll like let you like move on. Like it's like like a very ingrained part. Because like
know
also
what?
if they just never forgave everyone's done something bad at some point in their life. Like if they just alienated like, nope, you've like broken like the rules once. Like no one would follow religions. Now I'm gonna go flip a lot of this material and think it's like a lot worse for them in feeling terrified.
why?
Because like now you've got like immediately you've done a bad thing. Now you're thinking, okay, in the next like 6 months, something bad's gonna happen to me. Like, oh my god, I cheated, now like someone's gonna cheat me. Like you're constantly like thinking about it. But instead, we think like you can see a more long-term view. You think, okay,
You know
I've made a
what?
mistake now, but what am I gonna do now to like move on from that? What am I gonna do now to like reconciliate from that? What am I gonna do to like be a better person and like follow the values better now? Now, additionally, this is kind of like now talking about like a lot of people are gonna like feel like really like disenfranchised from the religion. But firstly, we think that like people are often gonna like use it as a way, like even if they feel as if like they're doing the right thing and someone else isn't doing the right thing, but they're getting good things come to them. Like we think like this aspect of karma will make them feel like really alienated, like that maybe they're not doing something right. It'll give them like a lot of imposter syndrome on like how they follow their religion and feel as if like what am I doing wrong? But in reality, in the comparative, we think they can just look at heaven and hell and look at heaven and go like, I know I'm doing the right thing. I feel like I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to be able to go to heaven in the end. And like also, well, okay, finally, like why is this so important in this debate? Well, we think like when people feel really dissatisfied with following their religion and faith, we lose a lot of like the purpose of the religion to begin with. We think we don't want people to feel like really alienated in their like own faith. This is like much more important than like this like random boosted like manipulative nature of like religion that they present on their comparative. So proud to propose.
Speak for a speech, and customary, I want to reverse the speech order and invite the reply speaker from the Negating team.
I'm going to do two things in this reply. Firstly, I'm going to deal with the idea of religion and what religions we have to stand for on either side of the house. Then I'm going to talk about the incentives these religions give to people and how they act in their lives. Okay, so firstly on the idea of religion, I want to note here that they literally came out and pushed on this religion that does not exist on us. They gave us this like heaven-hell-esque religion that is like the be-all, end-all, good, bad, evil, like tortured for life. We think that that was just uncharitable by them and that we could stand for religions that do have an afterlife, such as Hinduism, such as Islam, such as Christianity, such as Judaism. We don't have to stand for that homogenous like weird religion that they tried to push on us, but also want to note that like their religion in and of itself was very unclear as how do they characterize it. They just said it's a karmic religion. They didn't like step out to us what exactly the rewards and punishment system was. They just told us that you were going to be rewarded, but they never told us like if there was going to be a punishment aspect. Okay, but also I want to know, why is religion super important for people? Oliver told you this right from the beginning of his speech, that religion is literally so important for people because it's teaching them how to live their lives. Lots of people find a lot of comfort in religion and that it like literally is the source of what gives them their meaning of life. We think that the idea of like their meaning of life is working towards the afterlife. We think that that is inherently very useful for them into correlating to how they act. But also then the idea of like forgiveness and hell in religion. We told you that like lots of religions aren't just like a good, bad, like good, bad things. We told you lots of religions have different things, such as Islam with their seven levels in their afterlife. That doesn't inherently mean if you were a medium average person, you're not just going to be sent straight down to like layer 1. You're probably going to be sent to like maybe layer 5 or layer 4. We don't think you're just going to be like sent and be tortured for the rest of eternity. But also the idea of forgiveness, and they talked about like the gang member. We can flip that, right? Like maybe this gang member now feels like forgived because they did do some good things in their lives when they like find comfort in Christianity, for example. But let's talk about how it translates to people acting and their incentives on religion. We told you from Oliver's speech that the idea of working towards an eternal like heaven or like a good afterlife is literally what incentivizes people to work, like to constantly work and do good things. Their main push here was that people do good things because they want good things to happen to them back. We firstly tell you that was just like a corrupt incentive in the first place, and that it's like rather selfish, but also the idea of working towards something greater than you, we think that's pretty important, right? But also we told you this leads to them taking better actions, such as like volunteering, such as giving up their time, not just holding the door for someone. We never heard direct incentives why someone was going to do something greater than that if they were going to reap such a great reward of picking $20 up off the ground if they were going to hold the door for someone. But also they told us that you're going to feel good because you get a tangible outcome. I want to know that like firstly you will feel, like we told you, you will feel good because you're just like contributing to your like movement into the good afterlife. But also secondly, when you do something good, you just feel good yourself. That's to say like that's really important there. But also, we gave you lots of material on feeling dissatisfied with your religion and like why, when you do something good but nothing good happens to you back, you begin to question, why did that happen? Why has nothing happened to me? Why is this person that's like just horrible getting all these good things in their lives? You begin to feel dissatisfied. You don't feel comfort in your religion anymore. You lose faith. We think that's extremely harmful because I told you why people find like comfort in religion in the first place. But also then on my occult material, note that their literal only response was like, it's symmetrical. Like we never heard exactly why it's symmetrical. It's not symmetrical. We told you this was because they get coerced by a rewards system when they follow through on their harmful behaviors that the cult leader tells you to do. They never responded to that mechanism. That still stands. We think that is an inherent harm that still exists under their side of the house. But ultimately, even if you think the incentives to do good things is a wash, we think that this cult point still stands and that cults still exist under their side of the house. They don't get rid of them. The harms of people literally being murdered, 1,000 people like committing mass suicide through drinking cyanide-laced Kool-Aid still exists. That's extremely harmful. We don't have that on our side of the house.
I would love thank you for the speaker for the speech, and now I'd like to invite the five speakers from the team.
If I was a cult leader, I would definitely use the threat of being reincarnated as a rat to get people to buy into my religion and into my cult. Okay, two things I'll be talking to you about in my reply today. Firstly, on how much buy-in does either religion get, and then secondly, on which side do people actually do more good on. What did we actually give you on buy-in into our religion? I think we gave you a lot of material on this tangible stuff, and it was contested. However, I do think it does still stand at the end of the debate, because we gave you a lot of material, especially that was uncontested, in the fact that, like, if I'm having a really rough day, I find it a lot easier to connect back to my religion with the thought that it's okay, I'm going to see some short-term benefit closer to me, rather than at the end of my 80-year life, right? We didn't really hear a whole heap as to why this is, like, more likely for people to buy into, other than, oh, it's going to be like heaven, or it's going to be this great lifestyle. Also, they gave us, they said we were being uncharitable about our like idea of the afterlife. I think they forget the fact that the afterlife is like also forever, right? And they also work on a punishment system. They also said they don't want religion to be transactional. I think this came out at third, not really like a response, but I just want to say that either side, like both sides are transactional. Like that's just the basis of religion, to try and get into hell, or no, to try and get into heaven or do something for good karma. So like that rebuttal was, yeah. Also, like this push on cults, like I said in my second speech, there is literally nothing more scary than the threat of eternity, right? Again, we didn't really hear any more, like, any mechanisms whatsoever on my material around, like, propaganda and how it's just really easy to get people to buy into your religion out of fear. They also said that people don't need constant reminders to buy into religion or to be good people, right? I think, yeah, this is like sort of true, but it's probably nice to see that like my good deeds have good consequences, right? We just have this basis of consequences, actions having consequences, right? And we note then that we did also give you a lot of material on the fact that we do probably just get more like minor acts of kindness under our side because people see how this stacks up versus like this small act of kindness that they cannot see until the very end of their life. They don't really care about it because they don't think they are at the end of their life. This is unimportant to them in the earliest stages of their lives. Again, I don't really think we heard valid responses to this. Okay, now on to which side actually gets more good like interaction on. Oh, wait, no, what does this buy-in actually lead to? Sorry, this buy-in leads to things like positive actions. Again, I think the small acts of kindness are the things that we actually care about the most in this debate because we just see people being more positive towards each other and people caring more about each other, right? And I think that this is going to be overall more beneficial to our society, which we gave greater societal impacts. I'm pretty sure their only greater societal impacts were cults. So I think like we overall win on the fact that we just get better outcomes for a lot more people. Okay, now on to what side do people actually do more good on. I think we gave you two mechanisms as to why people are more likely to buy into their religion out of fear all the way at first, right? So why then is this less likely to lead to good outcomes and to them behaving in a good way? Because once again, they don't see tangible consequences, but also they have these things that they need to do. It's a tick box exercise. If I do all of these things, I reach my like whatever heaven encapsulates. I'm just going to use that word. Also, we said that they said that you cheat on one small test, we're going to get infinite punishment or punishment for the rest of our lives. This is not actually the words that came out of our mouth. What we did say is it adds up over life. So your average Joe who's been doing some bad things is probably, sorry Joe, is probably going to be feeling quite upset and probably going to be a little bit worried as to what these consequences are going to look like. So I think under our side, we win this debate.
Alright, thank you very much for the debate. My understanding is that this is a silent round, so I will see you when I see you. Yeah, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. You guys are off the bench or what? I will see
Amazing Lara quote. I know we can do some edits to Lara's. You should see I wrote down Lara's like Ryan Gosling or something. I'm not God. I can't actually.
This is actually a good one.
I'm sorry, my favorite is I'm not God, so I can't really answer. I was like, I know you think that, but I'm really not. No, I love that. I would have come here.
Yeah, I just got that vibe, you know.
Yeah, and it's giving like all the
Guys, I encapsulated our whole natural approach.
I'm glad. 6:30.